Tortillas?
Gentlemen, welcome to
But they already cooked, right? They're baked.
make a cooking event led by Christian and Nikki from Miami. We are going to cook a vegan hors d'oeuvre, and I think we are now starting with a cooking show. The stage is yours, please.
Cooking show. I love that. So thanks for joining, and I'm super happy that you guys are interested enough to cook some vegan food. And I live in Miami, so tacos are very popular. We usually have a Taco Tuesday. Now we're gonna do today a Taco Friday. But I actually had the idea because my boss loves beef tacos, but he's living plant-based now, and I said I'm gonna make you very delicious beef tacos without the meat. So what we're gonna start with today is actually to make the beef filling. Then we season it, then we fry it, and then we make if you want to, we make this little sour cream or something that resembles the sour cream, and then you guys can put it all together and eat it without meat. Okay?
The funny thing is, I'm really hot to see the sour cream because, I read, when I looked how you soak cashews, I read a lot about how you can replace with these soaked cashews, a lot of stuff, so it would be great if you can.
Exactly. Every other meal that I make consists of cashews, because cashews you can use for creams, you can use to make cheesy sauces or like sour creams, or even make yogurt with cashews. Okay, so did all of you guys boil your lentils already?
Yeah.
Okay, makes the life easier. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a cup of lentils, and we boiled it, of course. I'm gonna speak in cups because in the US we do that. But if you need like the milliliter, then we need I can convert it, okay? So what we're gonna do is...
Actually, I learned this from my mother because she's half Canadian and she's got this stuff to cook. I didn't have this before, but I think it is this measurement cup. It's 250 milliliters, basically a cup.
Exactly.
We have a real Dibban cup.
2 cups. Oh yeah, that's 2 cups is 500 milliliters. So for you to understand the screens, I have 2 assigned. One shows my table and one shows me. If you don't want to see my face, just connect the one with the table, because then you see my hands and my food processor. Okay?
Look at this is technology.
Yeah, totally. This is a tiny thing I bought 15 years ago when I moved here, and it's very practical. So if you have a blender or food processor, what you're going to do, you're going to put in the lentils and you're going to chop and grind them as small as you can. We don't want to puree them. So it is okay if you can still see a few chunks. I will show it to you so you can see it in the camera. You might need to jiggle it a little bit. It does not need to be very smooth, because if you eat ground beef, it's also not a paste. Okay, it has pieces.
Too late.
So we we just take a bowl and we just put it all in the bowl, in a big bowl, because we're gonna use the bowl later to mix everything together. And you don't need to wash or rinse the food processor or the blender, because we're gonna chop the onion, the mushrooms, and the beet.
Okay.
In the same. So I just took it most out.
In the same. Mushrooms in the same. And then also mix it?
Yes. Then you put in the food processor the mushrooms. I think I had like 4 ounces, which is like maybe 50-60 grams. I put the beets.
Also, the red beets put the beets now into it.
Yes, you put the mushrooms, the beets, and the onions. And we don't want this very, very, very small, so it can be still chunky. Like, imagine if you chop onions like this.
Okay.
Like chopped onion size. If you look in the camera, hi, Kristen. I'm gonna show it to you. Do you see the camera? You see my chopped mess.
Like so, Nikki. Is it good so?
I don't see your.
Yeah, Nikki here. Can you check, please?
I cannot see you. Kristen, are you cooking with us or are you watching?
Here it is.
I am watching.
There you are. I'm cooking. Already done. Beetroot,
Okay.
lentils, and onion.
Beet, mushrooms, onions, lentils. Okay, perfect. You don't need to rush me so much because I was doing this class with Latin colleagues of mine. Oh my goodness! I could sit down and have coffees in between because they were taking this.
We have 2 large red beets. How much is a tass of it?
Okay, wait. Are they right? Are they raw or are they cooked?
They're cooked. Big thing, like large tennis balls.
But they are cooked, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You just need
1 or 2?
No, like half a cup.
Hey, can you please use German measurements?
20 Grad.
4 ounce, eine Dose, 1 can.
We are not buying in dozen. We are buying fresh.
Okay. Then use maximum 1.
Okay.
Maybe a little less.
Yeah.
But you need to slice and chop it a little bit so the food processor can make it work. We can wait for you, not a problem. We have time.
So I've got now lentils, onions, mushrooms, beetroot, all together.
Yes, put everything in a bowl.
All done, ready.
Well, you need to give Daniel and the others some time.
I'm just saying that you asked me if I was cooking with you. I'm perhaps too fast, too experienced.
No, you're good. Yes, I'm impressed. I'm gonna do that with you always. You're gonna be my moderator. You get people like, come on, people, cook. So when you have everything in a bowl, Daniel, should we continue? Should we wait for you?
No. Please go on. We have everything under control.
So when you have everything in the bowl, you're gonna add now the nutritional yeast. Do you know what nutritional yeast is?
Yeah. We have this.
What is
Okay.
What is this?
Nutritional yeast.
Hefeflocken.
Nutritional yeast is the
Half a cup.
active.
Oh, 8.
Yes, half a cup.
And we have
Not true. A quarter cup.
And we have this kokos thing. This one. Okay.
A quarter cup of nutritional yeast. So now we're gonna do a little learning lesson. Do you know what nutritional yeast is?
No.
Okay.
Trying to figure out.
Honestly,
Yeah.
nobody in the shop knew either. I had to really go on stuff.
Nutritional yeast is a deactivated yeast. It's sold. It's yellow and cheesy. It has a cheesy, nutty flavor. It's yellow, and it is very rich. It's very rich in protein and antioxidants and B vitamins. When you eat plant-based, you cook a lot with that because it gives meals. You can make cheese sauces out of it, or everything that is cheese and nut related goes very well. You can make the best Parmesan with cashews and nutritional yeast. So this was lesson 101 right now.
It smells cheesy, actually.
Yes, exactly. And when you mix it with sauces, you can make mac and cheese, and it always takes nutritional yeast.
D'abord, il faut cuisiner, après on mange.
Oh no, it's French. Je ne sais pas.
I have some trouble with this year stuff because I don't know. I couldn't find it. So what should I replace it with?
You cannot really replace it with, but I think for this meal, for the meat, you're fine if you don't put it in there.
All right. Okay. Fine. I watched then. I'll tell you the results then. Thank you.
Usually, I don't know, where are you located? In which country?
I'm in France.
Okay. They should have it in these. How do you call these Whole Foods?
Bio something. Yeah. Yeah.
Dans la section biologique.
Very delicious.
Yeah. So, and now we add the coconut flour. You don't need to take coconut flour. You can also use almond flour if you want.
Half cup was it, wasn't it? Or quarter cup?
A quarter cup.
Hey,
Elaine, where's your camera? We cannot see you.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm here.
No, we cannot see you.
Now I know what this is doing to
and
the.
then we add flax meal, flaxseed, grind flaxseed.
Just that you can see it again, this is grind flaxseed.
Flax, a lot of people also buy and put it in when they make bread, and as you can buy it as a little seeds, but seeds alone doesn't help you. You need to grind it, because otherwise you don't get the nutrients with it. You know,
and
flax
what
is
is with the spices? What's with the spices? No salt, no pepper?
No,
What?
wait. Now what? Now we will flax. Now we wanna put a teaspoon of garlic powder, and we put 3/4 teaspoons of paprika, our red favorite paprika, and then we put pretty much 3/4 to a teaspoon of salt. And the thing is, the Germans eat less salt, the Latins eat more salt. So in the end, you can try it because it's not raw, so you can try it. And if it's not salty enough, you put more, but you don't have to put so much.
Nikki, can you interchange kosher salt with any of those, with your salt?
Yeah.
I
I
love
use
kosher
whatever.
salt.
Yeah, I'll use whatever salt I have at home.
Yeah.
And then we put a little bit of fresh pepper. Obviously, it's always good. And then comes the best part. If you have washed hands, you can just dig in and just mix it all over your hands. But you can also just use a fork.
No, I will use spoons.
Just to let you know that our cat is also very much interested in all this. Can you see Lotte?
Where's Lotte?
No.
I see her. Is she black? Is she a black one?
Yeah, dark brown. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I could move my camera now too. My dogs are like.
Yeah, maybe you can show the Piloto again.
Piloto, I will show when we're done with the mixing this thing here. I don't know if you can see my bowl.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the more you mix, and I like to do it with my hands actually, okay? Because then you can feel it like it's going through your fingers. But the more you mix, the more the beet will release all the color, and then it looks like raw meat. What a coincidence!
It looks like rare meat, and it gets this how do you call it? This texture of minced meat.
Exactly. And you can try it if you like too salty, too sweet. If you want to have more, you can try it because it's not raw. So and
Please look, these are very rare pictures for me. You never see me.
Hold on.
Very pretty for me. Usually I'm a good eater. I'm not good cook. So.
Well, and I was always a good eater, but not necessarily super healthy, like mixed. And when you start cooking, you pay way more attention on what you're cooking, ingredients-wise, and.
Can we compare the color? So ours looks dark purple.
Because we had beluga linsen.
Ah, beluga linsen.
Oh, you used other. Hold on, Leo. You need to
Beluga linsen. Yes.
go outside. Stay outside.
I like it a bit more spicy. That's why I'm putting some Tabasco in it, actually.
But you wait. Don't put it in the entire amount. Put it later when you fry a little bit for your tacos.
Danielle, for more spicy, fry more.
Are you telling me we're gonna fry this in the pan?
Yes, because right now it's raw meat. Or what you can do now with this, you can shape it to patties and fry it as a burger. You can make meatballs and put it in the oven. You can, what we do, we take a little bit of this because it's a lot. So for me as a one person right now, I would not make tacos with so much. So I would just take a quarter out of it, put it in the pan. We will add the taco seasoning that I added in the email. And then you have and we fry it with olive oil so it gets a little, crunchy and well mixed. The rest of the meat you can freeze in. You can totally freeze with them in different portions and then just defrost it when you want to do it again. It lasts very well, like not in the fridge. In the fridge you have to eat it after 3-4 days maximum. But if you want to put now all the spices for the tacos, then you have to cook a lot, and that's going to be a lot of tacos.
Honestly, you know what? It's a bit like doing a nice cookie dough stuff. I could just eat this out of the bowl, actually. Taste it.
Yeah, and everybody tells me this. Everybody says, oh my God, it smells so good. I could eat it raw. And I'm like, exactly. Why do you want to eat raw meat? You don't. You want to eat this, though. This is healthy. Mushrooms is one of the main and one of the vegetables that has the main anti-cancer components. Like it's amazing. You should eat mushrooms every day.
Honestly, I'm really enjoying it.
Eat every day. When you exercise, you should eat beets every day. It's best. It's best for your health. You can't imagine.
Beets.
So we're ready.
So
with
what
the
do we
meat.
do next? I did everything.
Wait.
Should we do the sour cream first before we fry it?
You can choose. You can choose if you want to.
I would love to do the sour cream because when we fry this, basically, then you want to eat it because it's warm.
Yeah,
I would suggest that we take a short break and a big cheers to everybody from Berlin, the rest of the world. I think we are really upbeat, smart, enthusiastic, and positive people, and that we make this cooking event is really, really awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really
Thank
thanks
you.
Honestly, I enjoy cooking, and this is my first time I cook a vegan meal, and I'm absolutely surprised about the smell, the texture, how it tastes.
I'm very happy to hear. Yeah, we can make the sour cream because the sour cream is fast. All the ingredients that I sent you guys, we're just gonna put in the blender or in the blender is better usually. I'm not gonna put in my blender because I'm doing a small quantity and my blender is too big, so it's not gonna grasp it. But what we're gonna do, we're just gonna add everything in one blender and we're just gonna run it as much as we can so it gets the smoothiest, the best. So what we have, I told you guys, right? A cup of cashews, but they need to be soaked because if they don't soak enough, they're gonna be too hard and the sauce will not be as creamy as without.
Okay, they are soaked. So first of all,
we put half a cup of water and we're gonna squeeze lemon in there. Lemon is always good.
how much
Makes it sour. Lemon, I do 1 tablespoon. So pretty much you squeeze almost half a lemon.
What is to do with the cashews again, please?
You soak them, right? Du hast die im Wasser übernachtet?
Seit Stunden, die sind
Okay. Then just put one cup or half a cup. You can choose how much you want to make. 1 cup in the blender.
Okay.
Together with half a cup of water.
Good.
Okay, done.
And then you add to it a tablespoon of lemon, a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar,
I don't have apple cider vinegar. What else?
Take any other. Do you have any other vinegar? White vinegar, white wine vinegar? I personally am not too picky.
Oh, apple vinegar. Great. How much?
1 teaspoon. And then we do a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. A 1/4 teaspoon of mustard.
Yeah.
German mustard goes well because that's Dijon.
Best mustard is from Eastern Germany.
Exactly. And then we're gonna blend it as much as we can so it gets smooth and creamy. I have to put a towel with my What you can do if you don't like it too thick or too thin, you just need to adjust the water content. You like some people say, "Oh no, it's too thick for me." Then they just add a little bit of water, and if it's too thin, you just put a little more of cashews.
More cashews.
But that's pretty much it. That's all you do. When you cook, for example, you want to cook creamy sauces, okay? Mushroom sauce, like what we eat in Germany a lot with potatoes and whatever. And if you mix cashews with water like this, if you blend it, that replaces your whipped cream or your cream in your sauce. Like you don't need creme fraiche and all these Sahne. You can use this.
So mustard in the cashews and then?
Water.
Yeah.
Apple cider vinegar, salt. You might need to scrape it down a little bit here from the... I made a tzatziki the other day. Do you guys know what tzatziki is?
Yeah.
I know the Germans, but no, but you know, tzatziki I made with cashews and cucumber. It was so delicious. I had 5 days of garlic bread because I was eating it for 5 days straight. No dairy, no anything. It was so good. Only nuts.
So vineyard, what else?
Wine?
No, vineyard. Apple yard. What?
Apple vinegar.
Yeah, vinegar.
Salt, mustard. How is yours looking, Christian?
Have a look. I think I need to put a bit of more water actually.
You need show me your blender.
There you go. Can you see it?
I don't know where you are. Okay. Yeah, you might. I don't know if this immersion blender will be able to make it very smooth.
It is very smooth. I just need more water actually.
Okay, yeah, then just go like little by little, like add a 1/4 cup, not much. Go slow with it.
Okay.
How does yours look, Christoph? Is yours smooth? You can see me here. It's easier for me to see.
like a cream. That's the problem.
I'm gonna try mine. Okay, my flavor is super good. It's not very
Next time I do sparkle, it tastes delicious.
You can use that in other things too, like on sandwich and stuff.
What? That's delicious.
So what I usually eat with the beef tacos is only lettuce and tomatoes chopped. That makes me happy. Okay, that's not.
So is this okay? Does this looks good?
Sorry, that fell with me.
Do I get approval?
Christoph, what are you doing there with the knife? This.
I'm cutting bread. I'm low on glycemia actually.
No, but bread is not allowed, I believe.
I know, but I need something to eat before. Daniel, ich habe auch Pâté.
Hold on.
Ich finde es schmeckt sogar besser. Findest du es geht? Ja, aber Leute, ist ja ein bisschen Käse. Magst du? Findest du gut? Voll geil. Ja.
Kommt ihr jetzt noch ran an dieses komische? Haben wir irgendwas verpasst?
What's going on? Is there a break now? The commercial break?
A sip of drink. I'm
IBS, commercial break.
Was kommt noch an diese
Somebody else is shining.
Joghurt? Das sieht ja aus.
I just want to emphasize, actually today we are really international. We've got Christian from Canada, we've got Nikki from the US.
So I moved the camera.
Christoph from France. Christoph from France.
Yeah.
So you see my pan now. So now I'm gonna heat up some oil.
Oh, now I see the pan.
What kind of oil do you use? Coconut oil or?
No, I don't eat with coconut oil at all anymore because people think it's good for you and everything, but it's actually not because it's one of the few plant oils that has a lot of saturated fat.
Exactly, because if you go to Mauritius, people are dying because of that.
But you know what the funny thing is? I read about doing a keto diet, and you know, in between as a snack, I'm eating all the time coconut flakes.
I know, but keto is a fat-based diet for a fast weight loss, but not for a healthy or long-term weight. You know?
Okay. What are we cooking now?
What I did, I just moved the camera because now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna heat up the pan, put some oil, and I'm gonna put some of my ground beef, beef, inside, and then I'm gonna add a little bit or enough, depending how strong you like it, of the taco seasoning. And the taco seasoning is nothing else than chili powder, garlic, onion powder, oregano, paprika, cumin.
I prepared this also before. That was easy, actually.
Yes, and that's very when you smell Mexican tacos.
I think you smell the cumin mostly. I think that's the typical smell, isn't it?
The cumin is. So what I'm using right now, when I cook a lot with water. I don't cook much with oil anymore. But right now I'm gonna just use a little bit of the safflower oil that I have at home, because otherwise the beets will burn.
The thing is, we are getting a guest later, so I won't do this now. I will just follow now because I will do this later. Guest.
Oh, okay. You don't need to fry it. No. Yeah.
Do it.
So what you do is you just fry it as much as you think it looks good to you. And then while you fry it, it dries out a little bit. And then you put some of the spices. And when you think, oh, it looks good to you, like nice and crumbly, you see, then it's pretty much ready. And then you assemble. You take a nice tortilla. You put your sour cream, the meat, on some tomato and lettuce. Mwah! Delicious.
That's all here. Tomato, lettuce, and typical Mexican, you shouldn't miss jalapenos.
Jalapenos, exactly. That's like a must. So now it's starting to brown. I'm gonna put a little bit of my spices. And Christian, since you like spicy,
I love
add, yeah, but then when you fry it, just add crushed red pepper. You know? Like I didn't. You know what crushed red pepper is?
Nein, auch nicht alles
Yeah.
Pepper flakes.
Exactly. You can also put Tabasco. That's fine too.
What you basically mean is chili, red chili pepper, isn't it?
No, but red chili powder is in here, but that's not spicy. Not spicy enough, at least. Oh, you put the real ones. Oh, you have those.
No, that's what I think. What's about those?
Oh, these are not. Yeah, that's exactly what I buy as crushed.
Yeah.
And I wash it myself, of course, but never put your fingers in your eyes when you touch those.
No.
Oh, I know. I did it actually last night. I got these from a friend, and I thought I could eat them without. I could just bite them. And they ended up being very spicy, and I rubbed my eye, and then I was in pain all evening. So mine smells already like Mexican tacos.
Looks absolutely amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
Daniel and I forgot. Are you guys frying? How does it?
We are in the midst of look.
Ja, so.
Did you put some spices already? Habt ihr schon die Gewürze reingetan?
Das ist nicht mehr hinten.
Ich glaube, mach da noch einmal Platz.
Daniel, did you put the Gewürze?
Say again?
Did you put the spices, die Gewürze?
Yeah. In here. Oregano, Paprika, Pfeffer, Salz, Knoblauch, everything is in.
Okay, and does it smell Mexican already a little bit? I mean, that was a positive thing. Does it mean like Mexican yummy kitchen?
Das ist ein iPhone-Ladegerät, ne?
So mine is already drying up. So I don't know if you can see it. It's drying, it's burning a little bit, and then with the spices, and now the smell is amazing. And as soon as this is done, like as soon as I think, oh, it's dry enough for me, because I like when it's a little drier, like ground beef. As soon as it's dry enough, I just turn off the oven, the stove, and it's ready to put it in a taco. Do you want me to assemble a taco, or you guys can assemble yourself? You want me to assemble one?
But you know what the funny thing was, Nikki? When I was shopping today, I had a look on my mobile in your recipe, and it was saying tortilla. So I had tacos in my hands, and then tortillas.
We are a bit confused.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I always call them tortillas, no matter if they are taco size or the large size.
Okay, let's go back on scratch. We have to start the recording and start again. Huh?
I always buy the large ones because I love eating, so I don't deal with the little ones. I just make a big one.
Yeah, but then you have bought the same thing I did. What's the difference now?
It's the same thing. It's just that I buy the big ones because sometimes I make burritos and sometimes I don't want to make, or I make fajitas, and then I always use the same tortilla. I don't need to buy different sizes, you know. What I did yesterday is like when you make corn tortillas, then of course it's different. But for flour tortillas, for tacos, it doesn't matter. So my meat is ready, and that's pretty much it. So when you assemble, make sure to put enough of the sour cream, enough of the meat.
Crystal actually is the outcome of Daniel because he's not a cooker.
A cook.
A cook, sorry.
Aber du bist ein Chef, Daniel.
Yes.
What? Say again?
Daniel, you need to say something. He said you're not a
cooker,
chef.
but you're a chef.
No, it's we are just cooking here, and we are now trying to make a taco out of it because we were following the recipe and there was nothing said about taco.
But the taco seasoning.
Yeah, you're right.
On the end of the email, it said taco seasoning, just the spices, chili powder, cumin.
Maybe it's a good moment to talk about Del Taco, also very famous in our company, Del Taco.
Del Taco?
Hey, a restaurant.
From France, they were telling us how great it is. But it's not in Europe yet, I think.
Oh, show me.
Rice?
But that's like frozen?
No. It's
Just give.
What do you do with that? So my kitchen smells so good now, and I wanna assemble one.
Nein, ich mache die Flasche nicht. Ich mache die Flasche nicht alleine. Ich habe noch ein bisschen.
Who's still cooking and still needs instructions? Christoph, is your food done?
Yeah,
How does it smell?
it smells good, but I mixed it with Indian spices, so I think I did something more mixed of Indian and Tex-Mex.
That's Fusion Kitchen. That's the IBS spirit. More Indian content.
No,
Exactly.
Look at that.
And-
you know this one? Sambar.
Okay.
Southern
No,
Indian. You got that
And,
for breakfast?
länger
You-
braten brauchst du es nicht, packst beiseite.
Hold it higher. I can see it. What is
Yeah.
that?
Sambar. It's a powder. It's
Keller.
a spice mix that you can mix
Oh.
with tomatoes and vegetables. And it's vegetarian for Southern India, so you can mix it with lentils as well.
Oh, yummy. Yeah,
Just-
lentils is so versatile. You can put everything with
I think,
lentils.
no. After Christopher said we can do fusion, I would like to say, okay, we've got a date on the 24th, and I think we will do an Indian dish.
Oh, you know what I did the other
Yes,
day?
sir.
Chicken biryani veggie.
Oh,
That takes too long.
yeah, that's indeed. We need a quick. I will have a thought on that. So on the 24th, we'll have the next session, and we do an Indian cuisine. We are an Indian company.
It's a very there's a very good chickpea curry, which is good.
Yeah. Dal.
Oh, I do a dal. Yeah, a dal lentil dish is really good.
Yeah.
That's my sour cream.
FaceTime us.
Show again, sorry. I just see half of it.
That's the sour cream.
So we have realized because when
Unbelievable.
I call my wife via FaceTime, then my cat is always reacting on it. And now I think the cat is also liking this atmosphere because the computer is there, the cat is there. So the cat is feeling something with his computer and FaceTime.
Yeah. And the dog prefer meat here.
Okay.
Normally he's having cucumbers or fresh vegetables, but here I don't know, maybe he's got allergies to coconut.
This
Oh, there is a pig.
How big is this pig?
The pig is
You
back.
can't lift it.
I think he put his nose in the dirt again, because look, your nose is all dirty. What did you do? Where did you?
What's his
That's
name?
how it. Pilot, piloto.
Nikki, Piloto is now famous in Montreal.
Yeah.
He is.
3 of my friends saw his picture on LinkedIn and wanted to know all about him.
He's still smaller than my dog.
No, what that pig is actually. I was contacted on LinkedIn. Hey, what are you doing there?
Piloto, look at the camera. Say hi. You're all dirty. Look at this. Look at this. You're all dirty. Where did you put your nose in? Yeah, Leo is very curious. Hi, Leo, you need to chill. So now he came inside because he wants to see what's going on in here. And I mean, it smells like food. So, okay, I'm gonna show you guys a trick with him. Since come on, wait,
Nikki, Piloto is female or male?
male,
Then Piloto cannot join the women's panel,
but
unfortunately.
he's neutered.
But can you tell us about the benefits, because he's in the garden? I mean, does he replace a lawnmower?
No.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Piloto said, good boy. Piloto, turn.
Unbelievable. But that's
We
what
say
it
in
said. I mean,
France
more intelligent than dogs.
Piloto, shake hand. Shake hand. Thank
Wow.
you.
is more educated than our dog, because if you have
Yes.
a dog to shake hands,
They
you would
are
know.
more intelligent than dogs, actually.
Yeah.
My dog is also behaved when I tell him to do this. He does it too, but not as like Piloto does everything for food. So whatever you teach him, if you give him treats, he learns it in like 2 minutes. And if you don't have food, he will ignore you.
Okay.
And Leo and Scully, my other dogs, when you teach it, it takes longer for them to learn. But then when they know it, they don't forget. Piloto doesn't forget either, but he wants food. Do you have something in her hand that he wants? He does everything you tell him.
Yeah. For us, the dog, he does not remember he had a meal just 2 minutes ago.
Hello. Honestly,
He's
after
my
I've seen,
baby. He's my baby. I love him. Sorry. He's my baby.
well, one question: are they clean? I mean, do they know that they
Yes.
have to go toilet outside like dogs and
Yes.
cats and things? Okay.
Well, a lot of people think pigs are dirty because they roll in the mud, but they don't. Pigs are very clean animals. They don't like to mix whatever's dirty. They don't like to mix where they sleep and live. He lives indoors. He doesn't live outdoors.
Oh.
Like I let him during the day when I'm here, home office, he can go in the backyard, but when I'm working, he's inside. He sleeps inside. He has his bed like the dog. But pigs are very clean. They only roll outside, or he wants to roll in the wet mud, which I don't have so much in the backyard because I don't want to. But I take a hose and I hose him off because they don't sweat, so they need to cool themselves off. That's why they roll in the mud. But they don't roll in the mud because they want to be dirty. They roll because they want to cool off.
Yeah.
But he's very clean. He knows how to go potty. Like he can actually, by the way, Daniel, you can teach pigs like cats to use a litter box.
Really?
Wow.
I did do this.
You know, our cat can jump through a cycle and so on. Piloto is doing this too.
Really?
Yeah, our cat is really jumping from one chair to the other. My wife is really holding.
No.
Yeah.
Piloto is very he's 80 pounds. He could jump, but I never taught him to jump. That's why he doesn't do it, but they can.
Well, our dog is like 60 pounds as well, but when we arrived, he was 25, but I think he's passionate with food. He came from Réunion Island by flight. He was living in the street. He was 6 months old, and now he's 4 years old, and he cannot
Your dog.
run anymore. The dog is like,
Wow.
the veterinarian is calling him the barrel.
but it's adorable. I put Piloto on a diet, but it's very difficult.
Winnie doesn't want to be on a diet.
So, Christophe, how is now the COVID-19 situation in France? Is it contained?
Well, according to
Look at Piloto.
it seems to be contained, but there are a bit of new clusters coming around. But as we are living in south of France, you know, we got this wonderful professor who said everything is under control. So, we may get ready to do, let's say, local lockdown if required.
And Christine in Canada, because I'm reading a lot of news from USA, but Canada seems to be way better, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
but
yes and no, but they've had to, recently they had opened the bars and they've actually advanced the closing time to midnight, and they have maximum 50 people depending on the size of the bar. So they're limiting the amount of people, and they're shortening the drinking time because people are they're not being careful. And the mayor of Montreal, which is the epicenter of COVID in Quebec, has deemed masks mandatory in public as of like 2 weeks from now, the 27th of July. People are not taking it seriously as a whole.
But the same in Miami too. They opened everything and now they're closing everything again because they say it doesn't work. People are not being cautious enough.
I was just saying very provocative. The entire COVID-19 thing is really a human global IQ test.
Schauen, das ist das gleiche Format nochmal als Weinprobe gemacht.
And when I'm now reading, for example, like
somebody, I can't hear it.
You have to have this over during the day because people are not following the regulations. It's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Humans are lazy.
You have 2 meters distance because people are not understanding what is necessary to do.
In France, people forgot everything in the south, like within 5 days. No gel anymore, no mask. And tomorrow, the country will remove the state of emergency. So we will reauthorize football games in stadium, maximum 5,000 people. But it really depends on where you are, because where people are from, I would say, south of France is closer to Italy, so people do not really respect. Northern France is much more safe, but it came back to the normal situation. We reached the same level of pollution with no aircraft flying.
Yeah, but we have the same thing, you know, with diesel cars. They always exempted diesel cars in Germany from the cities. And the funny thing is nobody was driving, and of course less diesel cars anyway, but the pollution didn't drop at all. It's all a big.
Exactly. So we can't blame aviation, but I don't know.
But listen.
No, I was yesterday. I was with my.
You can blame the food industry.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
camera, we don't see you. We don't see you. You have to move a bit to the right.
We see your elbow.
Yeah.
We see half of you, Nikki.
You have to move to the right.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see Nikki.
That's way better.
Now we see her.
I have not.
That's
look,
too far
the
right.
other camera. I was looking into the other camera.
Turn it off. We don't need it anymore.
Oh wait. Can you see me now?
Now we see you twice. Very good.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You need to stop. Ignore this one. Damn it.
I only see one camera. How come I only see one? I see Nikki now, but I didn't see the other camera.
Well, the other camera just showed my window because my table because I wanted to show what I'm actually doing.
But
my pig is waiting for his lunch.
The time I'm not seeing Hélène. Hélène is a ghost here.
So talking about France and talking about actually what's going on, you know, with cross-border. Yesterday I was with my son. I was in Europa Park, which is a fun fair basically, and it was packed with French, with Dutch people. It's down in an area of Baden-Baden and Strasbourg, and that's where a lot of French people. Well, I must admit, I mean, it was very convenient because they only let a certain amount of people in, but nobody was really caring about the mask. I mean, you know, they put lines everywhere where you queue for the Achterbahn and for the roller coasters and these things, but nobody was caring. The funny thing is, you know, that and this is, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm really straight, but the Germans were all wearing the mask, the French, the Dutch, they didn't care about any measurements actually.
But in the Netherlands, they had no real lockdown, so it was very. You know, I think when you look at Sweden, for example, versus for us, like in Germany or in France, we're expecting the state to give us directions and to impose us rules, and the Swedes are very consensual, so they expect the state not to give direction and people to behave accordingly, you know, to what they would feel like.
I mean, I don't want to politics. There was in the news actually that in France, I don't know where it was, a bus driver was nearly killed actually because they basically beat him up because he forced the people to wear a mask on the bus. Terrible.
Well,
Oh my God.
I think
but we have the same problem here too. Like people, when somebody wants to enforce it, then other people or ignorant people start to attacking that person that actually just doing its job by saying, look,
exactly,
it's mandatory.
But what happened also in Bayonne with this bus driver, the 4 guys who killed him roughly because he's dead now.
Oh my God.
The mask was one point.
Christoph, it wasn't going against France, it's all over. But that's ignorance actually.
The 4 guys, you know, they've been arrested and they are known by the police and they were already caught for terrorism. So
Jesus.
So it's basically 4 guys who did not act for the mask, but I would say they were at a preference for the deal.
Oh, Kristen, that's what happens in Europe.
Yeah.
Canada is boring compared to this.
Well, there was a woman, and my dad was telling me yesterday. Now, again, my dad has dementia, so I don't know how accurate the story was, but there was a woman in a hospital in downtown Toronto who refused to wear a mask in the hospital. So the police had to come and physically remove her. I believe it. I believe it's true. There have been cases in Quebec of people refusing to wear masks. So the police basically had to quarantine the person and keep them away from the rest of society. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, but there are always these people that are they think they stand above things. I mean, look at our president. Okay, next topic.
No, thank you.
But we have a facility in Tulsa, and Tulsa was very Oklahoma, right? Was very no, we don't have any cases, and now it's getting so bad that starting Monday, mask wearing is going to be mandatory also in our facility. And if you tell people, some of them and most of them were actually, by the way, Trump had a rally in Tulsa about 3 weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
And everybody went to this rally, and from our facility, quite a few apparently as well. And nobody was wearing masks there. Yeah. So how come?
Yeah.
Then you're surprised that the numbers like
explode.
How big is
Nikki? How big is your operation of Lufthansa Technics actually back in where you stationed?
Yeah. How many people?
In Miami and Florida, we're about 220, 230. And in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we have 2 facilities, and I would have to lie now. I think about 500 people there.
Okay.
But what do you do in Tulsa? What do you do compared to?
In Tulsa, we have production. We have a component shop.
Oh, okay.
Component repair. Okay. And we also have mobile engine services, like a different facility which does the engine. And in Miami, we only have administrative, like customer service, sales, and warehousing as well.
But do you already feel a bit of downturn because the airlines are reducing fleet and therefore, of course, MRO is also dropping, I assume? How is this affecting your business? I mean, you don't only work on Lufthansa aircraft, you do it for everybody.
No, exactly. And the first few weeks when it started and everybody was like panicking, then we were still very busy because of course they were still like having their fleet, or their customers were still, everything that was supposed to be done was going to be done. But now, of course, it's slowing down because less airplane flying, they're all grounded. So, of course, less aircraft on ground and how do you say cases we have, right? So they are like sales is very busy because of course they have to make sure now that they are there for their customers to get through this together, like with all the concessions and new negotiations and how to move forward right now. But the airlines here in the US, they received so much support from the government, but with the condition that they have to keep flying, like keep connecting the US. So they didn't really, they have less passengers, but they didn't really ground much fleet, right? Not like in Canada or in Europe.
Oh yeah.
That's anyway what the industry is saying. Anyone who has good domestic traffic can survive, basically, and who's depending on international traffic has a problem, basically.
And for that, you know, Air France, who is as stupid as usual, they are just dropping all the domestic routes, which are the most profitable routes on the network, because they will operate trains, and so they already dropped off a lot of routes to leave it to trains for environmental issues. And EasyJet and Volotea started to operate routes abandoned by Air France immediately.
They are rubbing their hands because they will have,
But you know, the Minister of Economy said, we gave Air France 4 billion. So on a French normal mindset point of view, 4 billion euros is kind of something you could make your life with. But for a company of the size of Air France, 4 billion is only 2 months revenue. So it's not a gift. It's and you know, I was talking yesterday with the Minister of Transport, because I will change job in September. I will work for the government, and I'll be in care of research at in military areas for military research.
Okay.
And I was talking to the Secretary of Transport, and the guy was explaining to me how things would work and so on. He was a pilot for business jet for 1 year and member of the parliament for the rest of his life. And this guy started to explain that Air France received a lot of money, that the state supported. And I said, the state supported a lot in France, like in Germany, same amount. But in Germany, there was probably someone in the government who knows how accounting works, because the money was being funded for companies that's been put in assets, or, you know, in liabilities, sorry. And so when the economy is coming back, you still can take loans because you will have better liabilities or better fundings. And in France, they just gave loans. So when the economy would restart, people will get nothing. Because they will not be able to take loans. So I think they did the other way around, and it's nearly stupid, but well, it's how it works sometimes.
Well, we don't know what, you know, I think nobody can predict what in 2, 3, 4, and even end of the year will be. So hopefully we can tell like that it's only going to affect like immensely 2020, and that 2021 everything is back to, you know, stable. But
I think it's going to be at least 2 full years before we see anything remotely like what we had at the end of 2019. More like 3. I mean, in my case, I'm talking myself continually out of a job, right? So I would hope that it comes back in 2021, but realistically, the industry won't be safe again until people, one, feel comfortable flying. And actually, Marco posted something interesting today, and I was going to comment on it, but I didn't. He was commenting on Anand was talking about the technology is the future of the industry. It is, but first we have to get the public comfortable with flying again. And once people start flying again, then the positive effect will trickle down through our passengers, through the economy, to our vendors like Lufthansa Technik, et cetera, to the component vendors and the ancillary revenues. But they're not there yet, you know.
No.
Actually, some of the alliances in North America, Star Alliance and One World, and I think another alliance, actually got together and did a YouTube video, which I haven't watched it yet. But just to tell people, you are safe on board an aircraft, but you are until you aren't, because you remove your mask to eat, the one person that is asymptomatic sneezes in your face. It happens, right? So we are safe, but you don't know what's around you. It's
But
this
this is for everywhere where there are more than one person at the end of the day. I mean, on the plane compared to in a room or in a store, the plane you still have the vertical air system, so it's actually cleaner than anywhere else. But if you're of course on a tight space with a lot of people, you have the risk everywhere. But the thing is, what does it help to have the plane or like safe flying when the borders are closed, or when people are not traveling, or when there's not the it's just like there are no planes flying.
We had exactly the same discussion on our president's call actually last Tuesday, where we're talking about how can technology gain this. And, if we want to re-ramp the business, it's all about the trust of the passengers. And, having worked for associations like IATA, for example, I mean, a lot of, for example, the security measurements you have to go through to get to the aircraft, is mostly about actually giving the passenger the impression or the feeling that he is safe. Yeah. Let's face it, you have been in the business. If you want to get a bomb on board of an aircraft, you get it on board.
It's the same like terrorism. When you want to fight against terrorism for safety, we give passengers the feeling that they feel safe. Exactly. But we don't test any explosive or C4 on every passengers. I managed one day to travel 5 times and even one time to the US in my backpack with a small knife that I didn't know it was in.
Same here.
They only found it in Israel.
And another part I wanted to mention on this, having worked now 6 years for different vendors and traveling the globe selling solutions, fly a lot. And I get influenza 3 or 4 times a year. I get other illnesses. And let's face this, if you're regularly traveling, if you get on an aircraft, I mean, before COVID-19, how do I know that the person next to me doesn't have an influenza? Or, I don't know, hypervigilant Drüsenfieber. There's so a lot of infectious illnesses. And that's why, I mean, the aircrafts are using certain filters for the air conditioning, etc. I mean, the risk was there before. It's just about educating, I think, the passengers.
But influenza is still more dangerous or more spread than even COVID. COVID just drew attention because it was everywhere very fast. But influenza kills more people than what COVID, like what the hype of COVID is. It's just bad because of the time frame.
But for us, our politicians in France, because we had a mayor's election in March, and some of them have not been elected for the first round, so the election's been postponed to past week in June. And so for some of them, they just got COVID diagnosed, and they turn to be like heroes. I have COVID, I've been treated with hydroxychloroquine and all these things, and they turn like being heroes. And the mayor of Nice, he just said he got COVID diagnosed because he didn't have any communication to do after the first round of election. So, and now he said, I want to be the French president in 2 years because I'm the one who saved the country. I'm the one who gave awareness. I'm
of course.
The one who did all of that. And I just thought if he got AIDS 30 years ago, he would not have said it.
It is that. I mean, that's how crazy the world is. I truly believe the airlines need to do the right thing. I mean, I saw the discussion we were talking about domestic travel in the US. That American Airlines, for example, they don't keep the middle seat open. Everybody is picking at them, etc.
Air Canada stopped that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, what I'm really thinking is we really need, what the industry needs to do is to educate the people and tell them, hey, like Nikki said, I mean, with all the air conditioning, everything, what's happening on an aircraft prevents actually these things to happen. Of course, somebody sneezes if you happen, in any case, but you don't, even if he doesn't have COVID, you can get an influenza, you can get anything else. And that's why what we needs to do is to basically educate the people and tell them, hey guys, for you, nothing has changed. COVID, it's just an illness which could appear anyway on a flight.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the airlines and anyone who's in the transportation industry, the health industry, they're all, risk management is part of your life. For humans, the basic, average, everyday human, they're not used to risk management. They maybe, as a parent, you become a little bit more cautious during flu season, but you're not used to, I mean, every time I leave the house, I think about what's the risk and everything, but that's after almost 20 years in the industry. So it's inherent in everything I do. And I accept the fact that I can mitigate, but I cannot remove.
No.
So it's a huge education curve, and people are capable of doing it. But honestly, how do we get there? I don't know.
But I don't think we have to. I think it's not. We cannot shield us because otherwise there's so
Hélène.
many.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I just
That
wanted
was
to
not
say
here.
that. Yeah.
Oh, who is this?
What the heck?
Hi
Hey,
there.
I don't
Helen.
see what's happening.
Yeah. I wanted to say that the tacos were delicious.
No, but we have to
Salut,
start
Hélène, tu vas bien?
how you are cooking them because we haven't
Okay.
seen you at all.
Let's keep positive. No, I also wanted to say that in terms of communication, I totally agree with you that people should accept risk. But if you listen to the communication which is done around us, it's basically saying you take no risks, take the plane, nothing's going to happen to you, and that's not true.
Exactly.
Everybody here around the table is aware that you can catch influenza, you can catch whatever, because that's life, and you are in a closed, in a closed volume and everything. So it happens.
Before COVID-19, if you were traveling, the people weren't aware what risks they were taking when they were on an aircraft. And that's the funny thing.
They're blissfully unaware.
Yeah, unaware. And this is something, if you've been business traveling for several years, you know about this risk and you have to take it. I mean, there was an interesting, I don't know who it was, but he said, for example, we, for example, in our company, to save costs, we have to fly coach. Yeah. In the past, when I was at IATA, I could fly business. In business, of course, the risk that you get something is lower because you've got your space, you've got your area, your free foot and everything. And the interesting thing was saying, if you send your people around the globe, you should pay for business class actually to mitigate the risk of getting an illness instead of flying economy, for example. And that's for me.
Christian, to some extent in business, we could get alcoholic faster.
That's also correct. But hey, I was flying quite a few years in business, and because my companies paid for it, I must admit I didn't get an alcoholic then. So
I never drink water on the plane.
But honestly, that's the only way you get around jet lag. Move and drink water. And that's what I do traveling the globe. I basically usually walk around, make the flight attendants crazy because they always ask me why I'm not on my seat. But
no, that's annoying. That is annoying.
Why is it annoying?
Don't get in the way.
Yeah, but if you fly overnight, like in red eye, and then you need to be in the office the next morning, and you have a few wine the evening before on the flight, that's gonna be a little tough.
But I'm probably the worst travel companion, because when I get into the aircraft, I fall asleep and I wake up at landing usually. So
that's the best companion.
Oh,
be quiet, leave me alone. Let me listen to my movies and.
Yeah. And
okay, guys, I need to take care of this little.
So really,
anyway,
that was really awesome. I think also from the technology point of view, with all the angles and so on, but also the passion, enthusiasm, and how you made it. I hope we can
enjoy
get
dinner
once again in the upcoming weeks for another nice recipe. I think Christian is very keen to do something more, and maybe also the other people. We will push it out, of course, so that will, of course, boost the internet.
That.
And hopefully, and we will discuss also with the aviation women whether we make an aviation women cooking class. Maybe that's also something we can discuss with all the women.
Let's everybody thank Nikki, actually, because this was Nikki's show. today.
Uh-huh.
And
No,
thank
no,
you so
with you, with
Oh,
you,
yes.
and
Thank you.
you guys.
Nikki, it was very inspiring. Beyond
And Nikki,
recipe
you did something which never worked. I started to cook. It's the very first time that I did cook. Huh?
Hey, that's
So I'm gonna send you a few recipe ideas, and then you guys can choose which one you can learn. Okay?
yeah, because it
That's
was
great.
very
Thank you.
inspiring for French
Okay.
people who eat beef tartare.
Beef tat. Well, you just
You know, in
get this
France
now.
we still have raw meat, but it's we are a country which is lagged in terms of food
like
education.
beef
Sometimes.
tartare.
I'm
Just eat
kidding.
it.
I Poland.
Just eat it without frying it, Gustav.
Exactly. You've got
with mustard.
Have a good
Guys,
weekend,
Have
everybody.
a good weekend.
Bye bye.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend. You take
Be
care.
safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.